The aim of passage planning is to ensure a safe, efficient, and enjoyable voyage for your vessel and crew. A skipper should determine the most favorable route, identify potential problems and hazards along the route. It involves considering such factors as weather, current, fisheries, traffic, and environmental protection zones. For the northern route back to Europe via Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, there are a few challenges that the skipper needs to address. That said, taking the northern route will be an adventure that will leave you spellbound. Whether you are casting off from Bermuda or a port on the east coast of US, the first challenge is the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a force to be reckoned with. It's like a living creature moving along the US coast up past Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Forecasts for the Gulf Streams should be studied as part of the weather routing, keeping in mind the following. Avoid by all means the Gulf Stream when there is a wind against tide situation. Strong winds from the north will create dangerous sea states. If you have to cross the Gulf Stream, do not cross the Gulf Stream where it's narrow, as the current runs faster here. On our passage to Nova Scotia, we had southerly winds, so we were able to ride the magic Gulf Stream carpet doing 13 knots over ground. The second challenge of the northern route is sea fog, which also defines the best time for this passage and cruising Nova Scotia. Maine, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland is notorious for foggy conditions in spring and early summer. The sea fog is caused by tropical maritime air mass, which is warm, moist wind from the south that condensates when reaching the cold waters of the Labrador Current. Frequent cold days with sea fog can be expected until late May. Hence, the cruising season in Nova Scotia starts late May or early June. We arrived in Halifax end of May, and we got less than a handful of foggy days during June and July. Waking up on a misty morning, you get the most magical views when the sun comes out. That said, I would highly recommend that your vessel is equipped with a radar and that you have an experienced operator on board. The radar will also come in handy when you have to dodge the fishing fleet on the Newfoundland banks on your ocean crossing to Europe. The third challenge is man-made. Lobster pots everywhere, and it's highly recommended to make landfall during daylight. Luckily, the lobster season in Nova Scotia ends in the beginning of June, so there are less pots, but always keep a good lookout.
Halifax traffic control, Halifax traffic control. This is sailing yacht Saga, over.
Making landfall in Canada is straightforward if you follow the rules. Download the ArriveCan app and fill in your advanced CBSA declaration before you set off on your passage. Then enter Canada at one of the ports of entry or one of the many telephone reporting sites for marine vessels. The main ports in Nova Scotia are Yarmouth, Shelburne, Lunenburg, and Halifax. Full list of the telephone reporting sites are available on the CBSA website. As a foreign vessel in Canadian waters, you are not required to contact immigration for clearance unless you land, anchor, or make contact with another vessel. Then you must contact the CBSA immediately or risk a heavy fine. I'll talk more about this later. I highly recommend to make landfall in the historic town of Lunenburg, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the seafood capital of Nova Scotia. Sailing into Lunenburg's magnificent harbor entrance is wow. Nova Scotia has so much to offer cruisers, and I highly recommend that you take the full opportunity to explore this world-class cruising destination. The cruising guides from CCA, the Cruising Club of America, which is detailed information on harbors and anchorages, is a must-have for this adventure. We only had 8 weeks here during our 2022 Atlantic circuit, which was far too short. That is why we are coming back this summer to cruise and explore this wonderful area. What makes Nova Scotia such a special place to cruise? It has beautiful scenery, well-protected anchorages, spaced at convenient intervals along more than 350 miles of coastline, an inland sea that offers some of the best sailing in eastern North America, and extraordinary friendly people in picturesque fishing villages, towns, and cities. Depending on your schedule, a great detour before crossing to Newfoundland is to explore the inland sea of Cape Breton Island. We were short of time, so we set off from Canso on the 200 nautical mile passage to Newfoundland. There's lots of fjords to visit and explore on the south coast of Newfoundland, but make sure you visit Frank's Way. It's a truly amazing fjord with a tiny community. We made landfall here at night, so I'll let Kika from Sailing Uma tell you about the entry into Frank's Way.
Final turn and are making our final approach into the fjord, and it is absolutely stunning out here. Probably the most epic entrance we've ever done.
After exploring the fjords of the south coast of Newfoundland, it's time to visit France. Yes, you heard correctly, France. The French islands of Saint Pierre and Miquelon is only 55 nautical miles from France Way, and they are more French than France. Saint Pierre is well worth a stopover, a place to enjoy great food and good walks with lots of bird life. Saint Pierre is also a good place to stock up on provisions, especially fresh bread, cheese, and French wine.
Oh my god, it's a baguette. Oh my god, oh my god, it's a baguette. Oh my god, there's a baguette.
As you set off from St. Pierre, don't forget you need to check in to Canada again. Do so at Fortune Harbor or one of the telephone reporting sites on the Burin Peninsula. Without checking in here, you need to do the 180 nautical mile passage to St. John's non-stop or face a $2,000 fine. St. John is a place for great hiking, provisioning, and preparing for the Atlantic crossing. As is common in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, fueling is done by tanker or jerrycan, as there is rarely a diesel pump on the docks. Don't be too worried about this, as the friendliness of the people of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland is second to none. We found that it's impossible to walk around with a jerrycan without someone stopping to offer you a lift to the petrol station and then take you back to your boat. In St. John's, there are usually several yachts waiting to do the crossing across the Atlantic, so a tanker can be arranged to service all at once. From St. John's, there are several route options that one can take. Firstly, a short 1,200 nautical mile Atlantic crossing to the Azores, or 1,800 nautical mile passage across the North Atlantic to Ireland. Thirdly, taking the Viking route via Greenland and Iceland back to Europe. This is a YouTube video in its own right. Last but not least, sail north to Labrador and into the Strait of Belle Isle to complete a full circumnavigation of Newfoundland. This is the adventure that we will undertake in the summer of 2025. The Atlantic crossing from Newfoundland to the Azores is 1,200 nautical miles and is best undertaken in July or early August. We left St. John's end of July, spent 2 days at anchor in a bay north of Cape Race, waiting for a gale to pass. Then we set off and had a swift 8 days beam reach passage, flying the kite at the end as we had to navigate around the Azores High. We made landfall at Flores, the westernmost island of the Azores. After spending a few days exploring Flores, we set off on an overnight sail to Horta. Late July, the yachts from Bermuda has already left the Azores, so we found plenty of space in Horta where we enjoyed Peter's Cafe and made our wall painting. It is considered bad omen not to do a wall painting, so consider yourself warned. St. John's has a lot of Irish routes, so crossing the Atlantic from St. John's to Crookhaven is a bit like going from island to island. The crossing is about 1,800 nautical miles, setting off just after depression has passed and with a good weather window. It is very likely that you will get a second low during the passage, so when the wind picks up, go south, and if it drops, go north.
Land ahoy!
Make landfall in Crookhaven. It is a small fishing community with a very protected anchorage. It has 3 pubs, live music, and seafood. Having the southernmost point of Guinness in your Sullivan pub is a must. After a few days in Crookhaven, heave anchor and sail past the iconic lighthouse on Fastnet Rock before spending the next months exploring the Irish White Atlantic Way, known for its rugged coastline, wildlife, small fishing villages, and lively pubs. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you at the high seas.